So, greetings and welcome. My name is Jake Rayson. I am a forest gardener and a forest garden designer, and this is Wednesday's Forest Garden lockdown live stream that I've been running with a little bit of a break in January. I've been running since the beginning of the first lockdown in the UK last March. So it's been going for a little while. Every week on a Wednesday, it's me talking on a live stream, talking to my webcam. Now, today talking about community forest garden. I have got so much to talk about. I think my head might explode. So, just a bit of background first of all. So, I have been working on an eco home development in West Wales. So I'll show you a picture. Okay. Oh no, not that one. Oh good lord! I got everything organised, and now it's not organised, and that just is annoying. But there we go. Okay. Let's start again. So I'm going to give an outline today of the course. So first of all, about the project that I'm working on at the moment, which is an eco home development. I'm doing the forest garden landscaping for that. I want to create a community forest garden for this development. So this is my interest in doing it. I haven't done it before, and this is what I found out so far. So I just written up an outline and some useful links for people. So I'll be looking at setting it up. Exploring what it is that you want, then setting it up, the beginning of it, the constitution, just how it's run, and the kind of day-to-day issues with running it. And then there will be a look at diversity and dealing in different people, working with different people within the community forest garden. So it's practical and just looking ahead, trying to figure out where the issues are going to come in. And then there's the tools that you can use to facilitate the community forest garden. And finally, I'll look at funding. Very, very briefly look at funding, because it's not something I've done to any degree, but just to kind of give some pointers. Okay. So first of all, I'm going to look at, this is Berllan Awr, which means golden orchard in Welsh. It's an eco home development in West Wales, in a village called Boncath. There are 10 social dwellings and then 5 private dwellings, and there's a possibility of a 1 acre forest garden site. So I've been doing the landscaping there, so putting in fruit trees, fruit bushes, hedging, and some wildflower stuff as well. And I want to involve the residents in a community garden organisation, so that they firstly can maintain their fruit trees and their fruit bushes themselves, and then also with a view to setting up a community forest garden, which will include allotment, children's play area, orchard, fruit trees, seating, and kind of essentially a forest garden. So really, really exciting project, and this is what I am interested in doing. I'll give you an overview of, I don't know if you can see that, okay, but this is, over this side are that's okay. On this side is the social housing, and then over on this side there's 5 private houses. So there's 10 buildings in total, and 15 households altogether. And this is a space for the forest garden on the left hand side, which is amazing. So I want to set everything up so that it works well with the residents. Oopsie. Now the idea, really, when you're setting up a community forest garden, and it's rather difficult for me to do this at the moment because the people actually haven't moved in. They're not moving in till March. But it's to explore what people want. And every community garden and every community forest garden will be different because your circumstances will be different. It's like every garden will be different because your individual circumstances will be different, and the site that you're working with and the land that you're working with will be different as well. So you need to kind of do a survey. You need to survey the people involved as well as the land, but it's to find out what people want. And I think this is setting up a structure so that you can talk with the people. And this is what I am currently setting up now. So yeah, and you want to have people involved in the project. You can wade into an area, say, there you go, there's a forest garden, it'll cost, I don't know, £20,000 for an acre site, and you plonk it there, and people don't know what to do with it, don't really want that bit. There's no involvement. If you involve people from the very beginning, then it's theirs, not in a kind of property way, but they're involved in the setup and they're involved in the maintenance and the long-term care of the garden. So it's absolutely vital that the people who are there run it, basically. So this is kind of like an experiment in local democracy. It's very kind of grassroots. And it's really good to get feedback from people as well. Very good to have people who are using it on a day-to-day basis to actually feedback into the decision-making process. It's not like it's kind of top-down imposed design. It's something that you're creating with other people, and you are facilitating other people. You're not dictating. There's a chap called Alex who very kindly sent in a survey. So this is from Transition Ringwood Community Forest Garden, and he just sent me a link to it just so that, to give an example. So it's just about why you would want to set up a local forest garden, what your needs are. I think it's just really, really interesting to be able to do this. I'm very lucky for this particular project because the people are in a fixed location on that site, and that's who it's for. It's very clearly defined, very well defined. There will be other community forest gardens where the catchment area is much wider and much more diverse. So how you gather information, how you kind of pull people together will be different. But this is using SurveyMonkey is a way of creating a questionnaire and then sharing it with people. But you just kind of need to explore what the different what people want. What do you want to do with this space? Is a children's play area top of the priority list, or is it somewhere to grow annual vegetables, or are you interested in an orchard or somewhere to sit down, which is like a communal space, or and all sorts of things. And once you start going down this path, then you can you can generate some more ideas. So I was talking to somebody, and it's like having an outdoor space where you can having a pizza oven. I'd love an outdoor pizza oven, kind of sheltered space. Outdoor pizza oven be brilliant. A kind of food preparation area, or a tool shed, or a potting shed, or a polytunnel. There's all these other things and other ideas that you can have, and you just need to find out how useful they will be. But if you really want them, then you can actually go out. You can set it up so that people can get these things working, can get this together. So you need to inspire people to get involved in the project, and then they work out how to make it happen. Right. So I think also it's looking at the structure and looking at what you've got to work with. It's a council-owned road, so it's a council-adopted road. There's a housing association involved, and there's private tenants, and then there's a development company. And how I'm trying to sell it to everybody is that if you have the residents are bought into the whole idea, actually part of it, then they essentially are doing a lot of the maintenance, and it will reduce the cost for everybody. If people look after their space, it will reduce the cost for everybody else. You don't have to get external contractors in all the time to mow things and to fix things. So that's how I'm kind of selling it. It does involve quite a lot of communication and arranging things between people. So beginning then, Hazel, where are we? There's a very nice. Sorry, Witch Hazel is a very nice woman who she kind of helped me put together. She sent over a sample constitution, a very very simple one. But you do need to have some sort of organisation. This is to avoid kind of people basically taking control of the organisation straight off. So there are various ways that you can set up the organisation of a community group. I would always kind of recommend that you go for the simplest option first. In the UK, there is a thing called a community interest company, but it's essentially a limited company, and it has, but under the remit of a charity. So it's not for profit for a specific kind of charitable aim. And I think this is too complex, and I've been advised this is really too complex. For what I'm talking about is a group of 15 households. 15 households. You don't need to set up a community interest company, a CIC, because it costs too much money. Really, there's too much administration. There's just in terms of accounts, annual accounts, you need to submit them you need to submit the accounts in a certain way. And I asked my account. I have an accountant from a company, and he said, "Oh, that'll cost you £500." And then there's the bank charges as well. I'm guessing it's going to be around about 60 quid or something for bank charges a year. So that's 560 plus other stuff as well. You're looking at a basic kind of price for a CIC of like £600 a year, and that's a big overhead, and that's not something that's took a lot of complexity, a lot of overhead. And the only reason to set up a social community interest company is for grants, which I'll come to later on. So I would go for a much more simpler constitution, and this is the constitution that I have. So I'll put it into the chat, so you can copy and paste this and then just edit it, and it's just like, this is the group, this is the name of the group, and these are this is what the group can do, what it's set up to do, and the structure of the annual general meeting. There's the organisation of it. So that's all there. I won't go into the detail for that. You can download a copy from the slideshow. The slideshow, I'll put the slideshow in the chat actually. Fantastic. Okay, so the slideshow will be forestgarden.wales/talks/community, and that's the name of the slideshow. All the links are in there, and if you press P, then you'll get the notes up as well. Chris has asked, who owns the Forest Garden space? It's owned by the developer at the moment, so it makes for an interesting setup. Okay, and Abby's asked, are there any mature trees involving the community consultation, the work she's done? Are there any mature trees that could take some sort of adventure area? There are on the edge. I said I wouldn't get involved, of course, but I will quickly. Yes, there are some mature trees. I'm also looking at landscaping as well, because there will be diggers in there for the building, and creating shapes for an outdoor area, and also planting up for future, like willow structures and the like as well. So yeah, lots of possibilities and potential. Setting up as an unincorporated company. Alex has asked, have you looked at setting up as an unincorporated company? No, I'm not 100% sure what an unincorporated company is. Anything with a name company in it it kind of scares me a little bit. I think that the issue really is about the degree of responsibility for having any kind of legal entity like that. It starts to get a little bit tricky. It might well be worth it for larger projects, but I think start as simple as you can at the beginning. So the name and the aims, really, really important. Sounds a bit obvious, but really, really important. I'm lucky. This place is called Berclan Awr. It's Berclan Awr Community Gardens, or Community Forest Garden. And the aims are, as far as I am concerned, the aim is to facilitate the setting up of a community gardens a community garden space which includes a forest garden, orchard, allotments, a children's play area. That's kind of quite clear in my mind. I mean, other people might disagree, but that's good. That's kind of like a really good foundation to work from with a very clear aim. So that is really, really important. Getting a name which reflects what you do, and getting the aims of what your community forest garden, what it is that you want to do, and kind of making it achievable. And then setting up a bank account to receive, to pay stuff out. Now there is, I just mentioned this. I did look into it. There is a new online bank called Revolut, I guess is how you pronounce it. And it's kind of very interesting because they have you can set up a bank account which doesn't charge any. There aren't any bank charges associated with it, but unfortunately they don't cover charities, CICs, or community groups yet. They are working on it, but that's just one to keep an eye out on. But there are other banks as well. I am still with HSBC just because the well-known money laundering bank. The bank of choice for money launderers, because I just haven't. I need to change. Really, I really ought to change it. There is a very good bank called, there's a bank called Triodos. I'll put the things in the chat. I wonder, Triodos Bank. Yeah. And that's worth. Yeah. So that's what I'm looking to do for the CIC that I've set up for myself. And Starling. Alex mentions a bank called Starling, so thank you for that, Alex. But yeah, do have a look around. Try and get an ethical bank. Do try and get an ethical bank. And then the basic structure is very, very simple. Chair who chairs the meeting. Chairperson deals with the meetings. A treasurer deals with the money, and a secretary deals with the communication. Vast simplification, but that's kind of good enough to know. So you have a chair, a treasurer, and a secretary. And if if you have any kind of workshops running, you do need to have public liability insurance. For my landscaping stuff that I've been doing, I've had to pay out, crikey, it's about 400 quid a year. It's an immense amount of money. But luckily for you, Keep Wales Tidy. Let me see if I can find this. This is an organisation, but obviously based in Wales. They have a special offer of public liability insurance for community groups of £73.25, which is much cheaper. So Keep Wales Tidy. If you're in Wales, they can sort the public liability insurance out for you. So really good to know that. There will be, I'm sure, England, Scotland, Northern Ireland, there will be charities and organisations where you can get cheap insurance, public liability insurance for your group. So, yes, and that's good. So that's the kind of beginning. That's just setting everything up. And this is the constitution. So I kind of did it the other way around. So, and a big thank you to Witch Hazel Wildwood down in the Gower near Swansea. She's done loads and loads of different community projects. Really interesting. Koidenbach Community Tree Nursery, and she's worked on a whole load of stuff, and I can't remember any of it because I'm live streaming. But thank you very much. So I had a brilliant chat with her last week. Do get in touch with people who have actually got experience of this, and people are more than willing to offer their experience. Now, if you can as well, pay people to do this. So what I'd like to do is to get some work, if I can get a grant together, then actually pay people for their experience as well, because that means that they're more able to offer this experience to other people. So it's in your interests to, if you do get funding for a particular project, to pay people to do it. Yeah. So thank you. And the other one that she said as well worth having a look at, social farms and gardens, and there's a whole section on there, starting a community garden or farm. So social farms and gardens, that's farmgarden.org.uk. Whole load of information. I haven't even scratched the surface in looking at that. So I can't accept any legal liability for the Constitution or anything. Obviously, it's for your own purposes. It's just a demonstration, blah, 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 blah. Oh, that's right. Yep. So Witch Hazel works at the Swansea Community Growing Network. She works there, which is a kind of umbrella organisation for a whole load of fantastic projects in the Swansea area. So on to the actual running. When you're running your project, I do think this is going to be really interesting because it's not something I've actually done before. So I'm not really, despite doing live streams and online stuff and workshops and all the rest of it, I'm not really a people person, which is a bit odd. So this is a new thing for me, and I think the kind of one thing that came up from the kind of my discussion with Witch Hazel was about about people who get involved and people who don't get involved, and what you've got to look out for is one person dominating or being a maverick and going outside of what everyone else wants to do, but kind of dynamic yet can be quite not destructive, can be not so constructive. So it's getting the balance right. I think there is when you're running it, if you've got a clear aim about what it is that you want to do at the beginning, then you can see whether what people are doing fits into that, and you can adjust it, and you can say, oh, maybe we should do this differently. You've got a lot better ideas. So having that focus in the first place, like where you want to go, what you want to achieve, that can help with the day-to-day running of it as well. Oh, and on that note, because people have got busy lives too, so this doesn't have to be an all-consuming thing. Just having a once a month meeting to set it up, and I'll be very interested to see out of the 15 households on this particular site, how many people get involved. And I'm guessing there'll be just like a couple of people who will run it, and then everyone else will just be informed about it, and then there'll be regular kind of workshops, like pruning workshops and gardening workshops, and involvement in the design process, and people will come in specifically for those things. And then there's like the day-to-day maintenance, kind of weekly maintenance stuff as well, which will get shared up. So it'll be interesting to see how it actually pans out in practice. But having the achievable goals, having a clear aim and achievable goal, does make it much simpler to do this. And it's being transparent about the work involved, because there is work involved in this. It's not like a forest garden does require work. Any garden requires work, and you've got to be upfront about that, about what is expected, what people. Not everyone's doing. More than one person's doing the work, and arriving at a consensus for that. So that you're trying to. It's not just the garden; it's also how people are getting on as well, which is an important part of everyone working with the garden and working with each other. So, yeah, nice little theory. And for me, this is really kind of an experiment in kind of local democracy. So I'm kind of quite excited about this to see what happens. And do remember that it's about a diversity of skills. That it's not one person will be good at giving it all the chat and organising and filling in the forms and building the website and all the rest of it, or whatever's required, and another person will be good at the planting and the setting up and the digging, so and other people will have kind of much better at the ideas side of it, or quietly get on with something, or just kind of add some kind of moral support to it. So there's a diversity of skills and diversity of time, and it's kind of using what's there to achieve that goal. And it's it's a few people, not just one person, and that's it. So on that note about local democracy, there's a very interesting project called Flatpack 2021, and I do think this is a project to use the local council elections as a platform for local democracy. And it's party apolitical. It's not a specific political party, but I'm just thinking in terms of kind of local action on climate change. It's a very interesting approach, very interesting tool for doing it, that you can actually make a big difference locally and get a change going in how people think about climate change and how people think about resilience in a local society. The other one is citizens' assemblies as well, which are recommended by Extinction Rebellion. So yeah, this is kind of a little bit off topic, but it's still the same principles about why people get involved, what they get involved for, and what the process is, and how people can take ownership of their own lives, which is brilliant. And I was mentioned there's a book called Conflicted by a guy called Ian Leslie, which is coming out in a month or so. Really, really interesting kind of idea about arguments and differences of opinions, and how actually if you can use those, you can use a difference of opinion and arrive at a consensus. So there we go. That's an awful lot of stuff. Anyway, onto the tools very quickly. Now, for the main thing that I'm interested in doing is using I think for this situation is using a chat facility. What I have used for the Forest Garden stuff and the Forest Garden live streams is a tool called Telegram. There's a backyard forest Telegram group, and it's, you have it on your phone, and it's like WhatsApp basically, but without the Facebook sucking out all your advertising profile. And it's kind of really, it's really interesting stuff. It's a really good tool. And what's nice about it as well is that it hides the phone number. If you haven't got the person's phone number in your contacts list, their phone number doesn't appear, unlike WhatsApp. So I think that's kind of an important thing to be able to do. So that's called Telegram, Telegram Messenger. And I think it would work pretty well because it's instantaneous. It's open to everybody in that particular who lives there, and it's you can. It's kind of quite informal. It's easily accessible. One of the issues about setting up a website is that it requires a certain degree. You have to log in. You have to write a post. You have to make sure that people have read it. Whereas with a Telegram group, it's a lot easier, a lot more accessible for people. People can have it on their mobile phone and they can see messages coming in. So I kind of prefer that. I think is what we'll go with. So telegram.org, and the nice thing is you can get it for your laptop as well. You can get it for your PC or laptop, as well as for your phone and your tablet, which is brilliant. Now, because I have got a lot of information that I want to get the information out from a kind of designer's point of view and a kind of setting it up sort of way. The information that I've got is what species of trees, what species and cultivars have we got on site, and what the hedges are, and what the ground cover is, and it's just like there's a plan of the existing gardens, and all this information. I am going to put it onto a website, and the website is oh crikey, I'll be using WordPress. Now I've got there's a friend of mine who runs WordPress websites, so he's letting me just trial it out on his for the moment, but you can use wordpress.com. There is a free version of it, and if you do need to have that information up there, so this I think can be more useful for kind of reference material. In my case, it's a list of all the plants that are being used on each different property, but you could also use it for minutes as well if people are tech savvy enough to be able to write the minutes up and put it on there. Or you could use Telegram for that. So that's kind of interesting. There's WordPress.com. There is another one called Weebly, which I haven't used, so I don't know how good it is or not. And then there is the Zoom, which I'm sure everyone's come across, zoom.us, which is good for meetings. And to be honest, there's a limit of 40 minutes for a Zoom meeting, but it's just a way of a safe way of having a meeting with lots of people rather than getting people in a crowded room. Obviously, in a time of pandemic, it's not what you want to be doing. And yeah, it's 40 minutes maximum for a Zoom chat, which is fine. If you're having a monthly meeting, I think 40 minutes should be fine. Should be ample. Right then, so those are the tools. Website, if you've got a lot of information that you want to put up there and there's someone who's tech enough to use it, as in my situation. Telegram, totally recommend using it for as a messaging way because it's privacy about the phone number, and then Zoom for face-to-face chats as well. Telegram does have a video function. Now I don't think there's a group video function yet, but it's worth keeping an eye on. Because if it does, that'll just cut out. That will cut out more, more software, which is always a good thing. And then finally, funding. If you're a small group, you can claim up to £10,000. In the UK, there is an organisation. There's a national lottery funding. So yeah, just look that up. So that's actually quite a lot of money. So if you're looking at any funds over £10,000 or for certain types of funds, then you need to set up a community interest company. Now it only costs about, I think it's £35 to set up a community interest company in the UK, but you do have to, there's a few hoops to jump through. You do need to have Microsoft Word for the Articles of Association. So I ended up using my 5-year-old's Hub school account, Microsoft Word, to be able to open the bloody document so I could make an application. So I kind of said you need to change it to a PDF because not everyone has Microsoft Word. But apart from that, it's a relatively straightforward process. But I really would suggest that you need to know that you're going to have that you've got a fair amount of money coming in. There's a fair amount of turnover because there are costs, as I said before, there are costs of about £500 a year associated with running a community interest company. You might be able to do it for less, I don't know, but it's just be aware. Don't just jump in, set one up. Be aware what you're doing. So there we go. I hope that was useful. I do feel like I've just talked incessantly yet again. Okay, so I'm going to take some quick questions here. Okay, and Pete and Abby, Reliance Bank Limited. And then Abby saying, please don't let folk be marginalised who do not do technology, not even mobile phones. Much potential there. I think absolutely. You need to have an inclusive. You need to have an inclusive way of getting. You need to have a way of getting people involved. Abby's point is, don't exclude people because if they don't use technology. So if there is somebody in the group who, you need to be aware that there are people who might not be using technology, so there needs to be an alternative way of handling the structure and the running of the meetings. So do be aware of that. So very, very good point. Yeah, that's all I've got time for. I hope you found that interesting, and I shall see you over in Zoom in a minute. Thank you for watching.